what I wanted to get into also was TNA. TNA
Mhm.
popped up in this era. You weren't immediately a part of it, I don't think, but what were your impressions of TNA? Were you happy to see, because it had that pay-per-view deal and that was so different, the model, the weekly pay-per-view model. What were your impressions of it and what were your expectations of it?
I watched that first Wednesday night pay-per-view at Samoa Joe's parents' house. Back when we were kids, we went in his childhood room, watched on his TV, and I watched the pay-per-view and saw the flying Elvises, and uh, I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was absurd. I thought they had, the dancers in the cage, and it was also wacky. Uh, I can't believe it lasted a year. I can't believe it's lasted 20 years at
Yeah.
this point. It's nuts, man. I'm really glad that they did because they've always had some great wrestlers on the roster. There's always been some really good wrestlers, and even to this day, they've got some great ones.
Approaching 21 years now, which is
Mm.
just it's because you talked about it. I listen to Jeff Jarrett's podcast a lot, and there were so many times when they were real close to going out of business for whatever reason, and the fact that they've managed to go so long, and you've had a lot of history there.
Yeah, well, I spent a little time there, and it was fun. The roster was great. And on top of that, we were next to Universal Studios. So if I was off, we could go sneak out into the park. It was a pretty sweet gig.
Was that something you did often when you could just go and hang out at the Universal Studios and just do whatever?
Not often, but uh every so often. Yeah, if there'd be times you'd be out there, there might be 4 days worth of tapings, but you find out on the second day that you've got nothing all day. You sure? Yep. And so yeah, I remember going with Doug Williams to ride the Harry Potter ride when it first opened. I remember one time it was it, I have to remember the entire group, but it might have been the Machine Guns, Generation Me, uh, Amazing Red, and Jay Lethal and myself walking around the park. And they used to try to entice people to come backstage. What? Or you're not backstage, but come watch the wrestling show. And so they there was somebody with the X Division title trying to get fans to take pictures with it out in the park, and they asked us wrestlers if we wanted to, take a picture with a real wrestling belt.
Oh
It was pretty,
God,
yeah, it was pretty
that's
sweet. Like Red might have been champ at the time, you know what I mean? That's just what it was. It was a kid in the park. That was my fondest memory. Was that I think?
oh that's actually hilarious. It's just like a
Yeah,
park worker trying to do it. Oh man, that it's
with,
like
with
the
like two of the best tag teams in the world, and yeah,
phenomenal group of talent, and
yeah,
that's that's like cringe humor right there. It's like watching The Office, where you're just like, oh, that's hilarious, but
yeah.
oh, it's awkward as
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, yeah, it was perfect.